Thank you for this time. Thank you for this fellowship. Father, reveal to us your truth as we study your word. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. So we're looking at Exodus chapter 2, right? And do you remember what happened nung Exodus chapter 1? Ricky? Or ano? Any of you guys? Do you remember, Ricky?
Yeah. Only the babies. Midwives.
Yeah.
Midwives.
Yeah. Well, what happened was in at the start of Exodus chapter 1, Moses wrote who this story is all about. It's all about the people of God, right? The people of God and how Pharaoh was trying to persecute the people of God. And how he did it was three ways. One is he did it by giving them hard work, right? Parang ginawa silang slaves. Second, when that was not working, what did the Pharaoh do? He called the midwives, right? To kill the baby. Sabi, if there's a baby boy, kill the baby boy. If it's a girl, let her live. But we know, if you remember, despite all of this thing, what happened to the Jews? Mas dumami pa eh. Their population burst. And which shows that, man cannot stop the plans of God. Right? When it was not working, what happened? Pharaoh made a decree. If anyone sees any Hebrew kid, kill him. Throw him in the Nile. If it's a girl, let them live. If it's a boy, kill the boy. And again, as I was mentioning, all this time, God was not speaking. God was silent. And that's hard for some of us, di ba? When we encounter trials and remember, the Jews were enslaved for 400 years. So for 400 years, they were being enslaved and God was silent. And sometimes we feel that way, right? The pressures of life grips us. And we ended last time saying that no, it shouldn't be the pressures of life that grips us. We have to realize that it is God who grips us. That we are in the palm of God. That nothing that happens in our life is an accident. So today we're looking at Exodus chapter 2. We're covering verse 1 to 10. And the title of today's lesson is Don't Put God in a Box. I mean, Robert, ikaw, what does it mean that you put God in a box?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, it's like having your own idea what God is.
Correct.
It's just like giving a limit to a God.
Correct. Jen, ikaw, what does it mean that, you put God in a box? No volume, Jenny. No volume. Try again.
I think she's on mute. Jenny's on mute.
You're on mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ayan there. So I guess it's stereotyping what God can do and cannot do.
Yes. It is, right? And sometimes, as I look at Exodus chapter 2, I feel that For most of us, we put God in a box. We want Him to act the way we want things to turn out, as if God is obligated to hear us. Lord, I did this, I did that, therefore you must do this. Right? Or Lord, I've been very good to you, why is this happening to me? And that's sad because we put God in a box. And here today we will realize that we cannot put God in a box. And that because He's not in a box, our eyes will be open eh. We will be seeing God work. Okay, let's look at verse 1. Ricky, can you read verse 1 of Exodus chapter 2, verse 1?
Yeah, about this time, a man and woman from the tribe of Levi got married.
That's it? Okay.
Yep.
So, those are the parents of Moses. Jenny, read verse 2.
Verse 2, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him from 3 months.
Right. Try to imagine. If you think of it, this is the worst time to give birth. Right? Because in verse 22 of chapter 1, verse 22, it is being mandated by the Pharaoh to kill every boy. Now, if there's a wrong time to get sick nowadays, it's now. Right? You go to the hospital, baka mahawa ka eh. Ng person na may COVID-19. Ito naman, of all times, this girl gives birth to a son. The very sex that is meant to be killed. Right? What does it mean? One thing I realize here is that the child of God and the people of God are not exempted from trials. In fact, the Bible says we are destined for trials. And the mere fact that Moses was born at this time is no accident. Right? God knew that He will use Moses to deliver Israel. Would you think now is the best time to make him alive or bring him forth? Probably not. Kasi nga pinapatay lahat ng lalaking tao eh. Right? Verse 2 says, the woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months. The word beautiful there, is that the same word there, beautiful? Yeah, beautiful. The word beautiful there in Hebrew is tov. What that means is it's good. So when she saw that he was good, she hid him for 3 months. The word tov there is the same word that was used in Genesis in the creation account. God made the heavens and the earth, day 1, then it was good. He made plants, day 2, it was good. He made waters, it's the same word, tov. So what was happening here is that it's as if Moses and God is saying, this is the dawn of the new creation. This story of Moses is the dawn of a new beginning. A new beginning for the people of Israel. It is no accident. Right? Verse 3, Robert.
But when she could hide him no longer, she got a wicker basket and covered it over with tar and pitch. Then she put the child into it, set among the reeds by the bank of the Nile.
Now, what's your idea there, Robert? When she could not hide it no longer, why? Malaki na, no? Hindi, kasi 3 months old pa lang eh. Baka iyak pang iyak to. Right? Iyak ng iyak to. Kung makita to, you know, I'm reminded of during World War II, right? When the Jews were trying to hide from the Germans, and they would go to secret doors or secret walls or false walls, right? And when the German comes in, they all hide. Then, nakakatakot dun eh, when you hide and if you have a baby at umiyak, malalaman na nagtatago, right? So here, there came a time that the kid was probably crying. Probably he cannot run yet kasi he's 3 months old, no? But probably he was crying. And the parents were afraid that baka mahuli. Kasi kung mahuli, Robert, ano mangyayari dito? Patay. Right? Papatayin. So it says there, but when she could not hide it no longer, she got him a wicker basket and covered it with tar and pitch. Interesting, the word basket there, teba, was used only twice in the Bible. This is the second time, and guess what is the first time this was used? The word basket or teba. Noah's Ark. That's so interesting. It's the same thing. Noah was placed in the water. The people of God was placed in the water, in a dangerous water for their survival. And now Moses will be placed in a boat, in a basket, in a dangerous place, right? Then what? Then she put the child in it and set it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. Then she put, the word put there is she gently, tenderly, caringly put the baby and set it among the reeds on the bank of the Nile. So the idea there is, you know, the Nile River. Interesting. Erwin, if you have a child, then you know that the government wants to kill the child. And the place they kill the child is in Luneta Grandstand, where the child will be put on firing squad. Where will you put your child if you want to escape death? Would you take him to Luneta? Siyempre no, right? But where did they release the child? In the Nile River, right? And what did Pharaoh say? If you see a kid, boy, drown him where? In the Nile River. Oh, so that's so counterintuitive. Ako nga, I was telling myself, if it was me, we will not go to the river, probably we will go to the mountains. Right? Because it's safer there. Because there, pag makita lang yan, patay ako eh. Patay kami magtatay. Why would I want to go near danger? But if you note here, then she put the child into the basket and set it among the reeds. What that means is, the mother intentionally pushed the basket to the direction of the reed. It was planned. Okay? Verse 4, Luis.
Verse 4. His sisters stood at a distance to see what would happen to them.
Yeah. So, parang check lang niya, no? Can you continue to verse 5? Luis?
Verse 5.
Yes.
Verse 5 also.
Yes.
Then Pharaoh's daughter went down, and and her attendees were walking along the river bank. She saw the basket among the reed and fiercely put it together.
Yes. Then the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the Nile. I have a question. Do you think that was an accident? That the daughter bathed at that time? I mean, what's the probability of the daughter bathing at that very moment that the basket will be passing in front? Al, what's the probability of that?
Baka sinadya talaga.
Chinempo yung timing, right?
Oo, sinadya.
Pwedeng sinadya. But imagine kung hindi sadya and she was only there 10 minutes early or 10 minutes after. She would miss the basket, di ba?
Correct.
You know, I was reading that during this time, historically, not in the Bible, historically, there was a heat wave which prompted Egyptian to bathe more. So, you know, and probably if this is winter and they did not bathe, talagang malalampasan eh. My point is this: nothing is an accident with God. That the daughter of Pharaoh went down at that moment was not an accident. Go to Jeremiah chapter 10, please. Rowie, can you read that? Jeremiah chapter 10. Isaiah, Jeremiah, annotation. Jeremiah chapter 10. Rowie, you're there? Rowie? Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Anton? Anton?
Yes, Bobby was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jeremiah 10 verse 23. Yes.
O Lord, I know the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man who walks to direct his own steps.
What do you mean by that?
But I think it's God who orchestrates many of the things that we encounter.
For a Christian, accident and missed chances is thrown out of a window. There's no accident in the life of a believer. There's no malas nangyari to sa akin. Everything that happened in your life, God has ordained. Go to Psalms. Psalm 16, Proverbs 16. Proverbs 16. Proverbs 16, verse 9. Rebbe, are you there? Rebbe, are you there? Okay, Ricky, we go back to you. Proverbs 16, verse 9.
We can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps.
What's your thoughts there, Ricky?
Everything still is determined by God. If you make your own plans, His plans will overrule whatever plans you may have. Something like that. Yeah. So God really controls everything.
Correct. I mean, try to imagine this. God was using someone from the house of the serpent to protect the seed of the woman. Right? God was using the very daughter of the one who demanded to persecute all the Hebrews. The very daughter was the one that God used to deliver Moses. We continue, verse 6. Exodus chapter 2, verse 6, Jenny. Jenny, we can hear you again. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying and she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said.
Yeah. When she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the boy was crying. And she had pity. The word pity there means she spared. Because, you know, the daughter of the Pharaoh had the choice, right? She could have seen the Hebrew kid and decided, okay, drown the kid. Di ba pwede yun? Pero hindi lang ginawa niya eh. Pangalawa, how did the Pharaoh's daughter know that he was a Hebrew kid? Robert, ano tingin mo?
May balba.
May balbas?
Circumcised.
Oh, circumcised.
Correct.
Circumcised.
Circumcised. So it's easy. And the Pharaoh's daughter could have easily said, put him to death. And there will be no issue if you put the daughter of the son to death, right? Because that's common practice. I'm sure they've seen this over and over again, right? Baby being killed, baby being killed. Baka manhid na nga to sa baby being killed eh. Yet, she had pity. She was not like the father of her father Pharaoh. She had pity on the child, the Hebrew child. Verse 7, Robert.
Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you?"
Verse 8.
Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go ahead." So the girl went and called the child's mother.
Wow. Amazing. Right? I mean, who would have thought that this would be the scenario? And the sister said here, then his sister, the sister here is who? The sister of Moses. Imagine the sister,
Miriam?
Could be, right? But the sister of Moses was one of the helpers of Pharaoh's daughter. I mean, what's the chances of that? Right? That the sister of Moses is the helper in the house of Pharaoh. It's like, sa akin, wow, it's so not probable, right? Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and nurse for you from the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse a child for you?" Medyo diplomatic yung sister dito eh. She was focusing not on the baby, but focusing on the daughter. Right? For you na for you siya. Then verse 8, Pharaoh's daughter said, "Go ahead." So the girl went and called the child's mother. Amazing, di ba? Feeling ko nga dito yung moving Parasite eh.
So the daughter
What's that?
was working up for the sister was working for the daughter,
Yes.
Pharaoh.
Yes. The sister of Moses was working for the daughter of Pharaoh. What? And then the yaya is the mother. Parasite, di ba yung movie? Kuling na lang yung tatay maging driver. but again, as I said, let's not put God in a box. God is working and we see when He works, it's totally different. It's totally outside the box. Yet when we encounter problems in our life, we want Him to respond within our box. And if He does not respond within our box, we get upset. We get angry. God, why did you do it this way? How dare you made my life this difficult? How dare you gave me these problems? Right? Then, verse 9. Whose turn is it to read? Robert, is it your turn?
No, I can read it.
Yes.
Verse 9.
Yes.
Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him.
Wow. How good is this? You take care of your own child. Your child is protected. From Tondo, you now live in Malacanang, taking care of your child, and getting paid for it. How good is that? You know, di ba sabi nila, there's a saying, the devil is in the details. Hindi pala. God is in the details. Every step, every scenario God was working things out. I'm so amazed. Now, having the fact that your mom is a Hebrew, can you imagine what the mom is teaching Moses? I'm sure he's teaching Moses Hebrew culture, Hebrew religion, Hebrew customs. I remember I was in Dubai one time and visited my sister who was working there. And I learned something. Sabi sa akin ng sister ko, Pab, alam mo ba lahat ng a lot of the mga prince, yung mga anak ng sheik doon at mga sheik doon sa Middle East. A lot of the mga prince na mga sheik sa Middle East speaks Tagalog. Kaya, kasi mga yaya Pilipina eh. So, you know, you can imagine, sabi sa mga anak ko nga, if you go to the Middle East and you see a rich Arab kid, huwag kang magtagalog, baka nakakaintindi yan. Kasi nga yung yaya, ang turo sa bata, Tagalog eh. So, there came a time that tinanggal nga daw. Kasi nga, panay Tagalog doon yung mga anak ng mga prinsipe ng mga Middle East. So you can imagine that Moses is being educated by the mother in Hebrew, quote-unquote, literature, cultures, and customs. And she's getting paid for it. Taking care of her son. Right? And it says here in verse 9, I repeat, then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse it." The word "take" there means here, it is yours. Pinaubaya yung pag-take care. That's why you notice, next Thursday, Moses was so ingrained was so convicted about his Jewish Hebrew heritage because the mom was the one teaching him these things and getting paid for it, sabi ko nga. Verse 10, Erwin.
And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she named him Moses, and said, because I drew him out of the water.
You know, and this is our last verse for tonight. Check lang. Then the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. Now, during that time, the mortality rate of children is very high. That's why they had to wait for the child to grow a certain age before he can be adopted by the daughter of Pharaoh. That's why, di ba sa 10, the child grew and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter and he became her son. It was only at that time, when they were sure that the baby or the child would survive already, that he can now be adopted. And he named him what? Moses. And said, because I drew him out of the water. If you look at the word Moses, the word to draw comes from the Hebrew word masa. M-A-S-A-H, masa. That's why the word Moses comes out, right? Masa, Moses. Now I ask you a question. Why on earth will the daughter of Pharaoh name her daughter, give her daughter a Hebrew name? Son, a Hebrew name. Alam natin, yung daddy galit na galit sa Hebrew. Pinapatay lahat ang Hebrew. Tapos pag tinanong sa daughter, ano pangalan ng anak mo? Pedro! Right? Why would that? Why would if I was in the position of the mother, I would give him an Egyptian name, right? But here she gave him a Hebrew name. Al, what's your thoughts on that? Okay.
Wala.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
Wala
sorry.
akong masabi.
Oh, yeah. I don't know too. Ricky, you.
About that,
Yeah.
well, it's all part of God's plan. From the very start naman, we could see that God's hand was in everything amidst this supposedly crisis na they're killing baby boys. God's goodness was still there. And obviously, until the end, until yung pangalan ng baby Hebrew. Talagang nilagay niya doon. He's stamping he's showing his children, this is the daughter and the sister and the mother, that he's there until the end. Parang he's stamping his seal, you know. Because who would think na Egyptian to tapos Hebrew name?
Oh, to draw. And if you think of it, that's what Moses did, right? He drew the Hebrews out of the Red Sea. His name foretells what he would do to deliver the Hebrews out of Egypt. He will be drawing them out of the water, the Red Sea. Right? Now, again, think of it. The child that Pharaoh wanted to kill, wherein wherein thousands of kids was killed, eventually lived in his house. I mean, the kid that Pharaoh wanted to kill lives in his house, and he does not know it. And yet, it was part of the plan of God. That to me is amazing. The ways of God is totally different. Again, Israel was experiencing problems and hardships. Even Moses, without his knowledge, he does not know the whole world was ganging up to put him to death. Kasi wala namang control siya, di ba? Yet God protected him. And the mere fact that he was born at that specific time was meant to be. Not to make the life of Moses hard, but to show us today that we, people of God, is not protected from difficulty. What God promised is He will protect us during this time of difficulty. The problem with us is that a lot of times, as I said, we want to be exempted from trials, not realizing it is the very trials, it is these very trials that God uses to mold us. So if I ask, who among us wants to be like Christ? Or raise up their hands. Right? Now, who among us wants to suffer? Oh, none, right? Yet, sufferings and trials and tribulations is the means that God uses to conform us in the image and likeness of God. So let us not think that the things happening around us is not part of the plan of God. Because here, as we can see, everything and everybody in our life, think of anything in your life, and everybody, all of that is meant to mold you. Think of the worst problems you have right now in life. Okay? That problem is meant to mold you into the image and likeness of Christ. Go to Habakkuk, please. Habakkuk chapter 1. Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 5. Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 1 to 5. Luis?
Okay, so verse 1. The oracle that Habakkuk the prophet received. Verse 2. How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Or cry out with violence, but you do not save?
Wait,
Why do you make it?
hold first.
Yeah.
So here it's like blaming God, right? Lord, you do not hear, and you do not act. Verse 3.
Verse 3. Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrong? Destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and conflict abounds. Therefore the law is paralyzed and justice never prevails. The wicked hem the righteous, so that justice is perverted.
Yeah. So what is he doing? He was telling God, right, about his problems. He was telling God, the problem is there's problems and you're doing nothing about it. You don't hear our prayers and you don't act on the injustice that is happening in our life. Verse 5.
Verse 5.
Yes.
The Lord's answer. Look at the nations and watch, and be utterly amazed. For I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told.
He says what? Watch and see. Because my solution to this problem is something that you would not believe. Because what did he do? he got the Chaldeans, the unbelievers, right, to punish and persecute the people of God. What does that mean? Go to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 55. Verse 8 and 9. Al?
Okay. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts.
What does it say, Al, to us? Given the story of Moses and given the situation we're facing right now as a country or in the world.
Well, to me, sometimes you can be short-sighted, you can be selfish a bit. We'll focus on bakit God, we thought na we're doing your will or we're following you, bakit minsan nahihirapan pati kami. Para you would think that you would want to be exempted just because maybe you have you believe in God or you're a believer. But it says here, hindi mo, just because we're short-sighted, hindi mo masasabi kung anong overall plan ni God, how everything will turn out.
Like in the life of Moses,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
His ways are totally different. Even in Habakkuk, imagine, he used the Chaldeans, the ruthless Chaldeans to discipline, right, the Hebrew people. In the case of Moses, he used an unbelieving woman, right, who is the daughter of Pharaoh, to protect a Hebrew slave, so that the plan of God may proceed. In your life, Al, how does this apply? His thoughts are not your thoughts, and his ways are not your ways.
To me, just it's living in faith and trusting Him for everything that happens or everything that comes your way. Of course, our response is obedience and faithfulness. Pero it doesn't guarantee na walang masamang mangyayari in our eyes masama. Pero diba sabi din sa Romans, God will make things for good.
Yeah.
At
God
hindi
causes,
natin nakikita.
right,
God causes everything, yeah.
to work for good. Correct.
Those who love Him and those who have been called according to His purpose. Yeah.
Correct. For our last verse, Isaiah 50. Rowie, are you there? Parang di narinig. Jenny, let the...
Sorry, what chapter is that, Bobby?
Now, yung kanina,
Yung Isaiah chapter?
55 verse 8 and 9. But now we're reading a different verse. That was kanina. Now we're reading Isaiah 50 verse 10.
Okay. Verse 10. Who among you fears the Lord and obeys the word of his servant? Let him walk in the dark who has no light. Trust in the name of the Lord and rely on his God.
Right. Who is among you that fears the Lord, that obeys the voice of his servant, that walks in darkness and has no light? Sometimes that's how we feel, right? We walk in darkness as if there is no hope. And here Isaiah tells us, let him trust in the name of the Lord and rely on his God. Even if things are dark, because there will be days that God will seem silent. There will be days that seems that God is not working. There will be days that God seems to be not caring, it tells us, let us still trust in the Lord and rely in His name. I mean, again, in Exodus chapter 2, the Hebrew people does not even know that God was working. Because this was just a story of one kid that is being born and being raised in the palace of Pharaoh. Yet, all around them, hardships, trials, and difficulties still exist. And my point for us today is this. Let's not put God in a box. God works through anyone and everything for His pleasure. Everyone around us is being used by God. Every circumstance that we are facing is meant to bring out good in us. So what? There's no room for complaining. Right? If we really believe in this, there shouldn't be a room for complaining. And I think we have to just open our eyes and look at the people around us and realize, especially those that irritates us, especially those that seems to be our enemies, my friend, those are the people of God those are the people that God is using to teach you to be forgiving, teach you to be loving, teaching you to be kind, teaching you to be humble, teaching you to be thoughtful, teaching you to be forgiving. Let's not take things for granted in our life, realizing that God is in control in every day that happens around us. All right? Any thoughts or sharing? Let's start with Luis. Luis, any thoughts?